We learned today that the Chinese have decided they don't want to buy that $50 billion, $40 to $50 billion of agricultural products that had, we thought, been agreed to in the so-called Phase 1 as announced by the President. This is the second time, as you know, Mr. Secretary, that we have seen this, this regime of President Xi renege. And at this point, goes beyond misunderstandings. This is a position of President Xi, is it not?
Well, they actually had indicated that they would continue buying substantial amounts right now. The 40 to 50 billion, in fairness to them, was meant to phase in over a couple of year time period. So,
well, that wasn't made clear to anyone as far as I've read anyone's reporting, and including our own or my own. The idea that the 40 to 50 billion dollars was going to be phased in, as you put it, there's a communication problem here between the Chinese and the United States. It's pretty clear.
Well,
I don't know of another instance, Mr. Secretary, in which we have a trading partner making stated positions and the United States accepting those positions, and then twice within a 6-month period watching them renege. That is just about enough, isn't it?
Well, especially if it's true, and I don't know if it's true, that they've stopped making the purchases that they had done voluntarily just before the talks resumed. They had said when we were all in the Oval on Friday that they would continue the big purchases, particularly of soybeans and of pork, that they had started just before that. So if they're not, that really is a very specific renege.
Yes, and at what point are we going to accept the idea that the Chinese are not worthy of U.S. trust? I mean, this is absolutely mind-boggling to think that they would have reneged on this again at this stage.
In a couple of weeks, there will be very likely a face-to-face meeting between President Xi and President Trump out in Asia in connection with the ASEAN meetings. So sometime between now and then, this thing has got to get resolved one way or another, because originally the hope had been perhaps this Phase 1 could be documented by then.
Yeah, we were told that it was going to be papered, I believe was the expression of both Treasury Secretary Mnuchin and the President. In fact, it's being papered over a bit. It seems to me that this is an impasse, and one which can, it seems to me, is hardly resolvable on Chinese terms.
There's one easy way to resolve it, which would be for the Chinese to resume the purchasing that they had been doing in the run-up to the talks last week.
Respectfully, Mr. Secretary, we're not an agrarian nation, and a deal over 1%. I think this is getting to be a little embarrassing for this country to have to go through this. It's you know, the most advanced superpower on earth. With all of our advanced technology and all of our finished products that we're now manufacturing, with all of our industry, we come up with soybean. I'm sorry, Mr. Secretary, you've lost me on that one.
No, what I was saying is the best way for them to demonstrate that they're living up to the understanding that had been reached before would be to resume the purchases that they were doing as recently as last week.
Right.
That's the way to prove that their good intent is still there. If they stop that, then I agree with you, you'd have to question it.
Yeah, I question anything which starts out with two failed agreements, both of which seem to be the Chinese reneging. I can't understand the point of the pursuit, frankly, on the part of the United States.